Before we start, here's a little bit of context. I got a DS back in 2010, and that and the Wii is pretty much what I grew up playing. Also, a lot of Mario Kart. At the time, New Super Mario Bros. Was kind of the return to 2D after not having an original 2D game in like years. These don't count. New Super Mario Bros. Came out in 2006, which is 2 whole years after the Nintendo DS was originally released. And 4 years later, I got a DS along with New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. I loved that game, but I lost my DS and I don't exactly remember how. And since the 80s Mario and Mario 64 have been run so much, I decided to use my nostalgia for content and run New Super Mario Bros. DS. So please enjoy my attempt at speedrunning New Super Mario Bros. DS. Whenever I see anything about speedrunning, it seems like they just know everything. I harshly found out that they don't on my first attempt, which I didn't record for obvious reasons. It didn't go well. So I decided to make a list of things to do before starting an actual speedrun attempt. So here they are.
The list of speedrunning stuff, I guess.
Number 1, research. Research the game, the tips, the tricks to figure out how to get a good time. 2, the initial playthrough. Do an initial playthrough of the game to get a good idea of the layout, the map, and just to get a good time. Number 3, practice. Practice the levels, the courses, the tricks. Number 4, the initial run. Get a run through of the game to get a time to race against. Number 5, the actual run. Go as fast as possible and get a good time. So let's move on to step 1, research. So for the research, I just looked at a few of the glitchless speedruns from the game, and it seemed pretty easy. There's some hard parts here and there, but aside from that, it's really just about jumping in the right spots, keeping the blue shell, getting the blue shell in the first place, and not dying. One thing I did learn from the research is that in the second level of the game, you have to have this red floating box come over to level 2, and not the castle level. In the red floating box, there's this blue shell you need to have to finish up castle 1. Here's a little bit more detail. This is a map of the first level, and this is the red floating box I'm talking about. You want it to go to this level and not this level because this box has the blue shell in it, and you want the blue shell to be able to finish this level to go to this cannon to go to World 5. Reason you need the blue shell is because you need to go into this room, then go to this room, then hit these blocks, and then go through this door, and so you can finish up on the red flag. Aside from that, the blue shell is not really needed, but it helps to get through the levels a lot quicker. There's only 4 levels you need to do in World 5 before you go to the ghost house, and again go through a secret door, go up the elevator, and then boom, you're in the red flag area, and you can go. See you later. And by go, I mean go to the cannon to go to World 8, possibly the worst world in the game. This is by far the longest part of every single run, and you can't die, or you have to start over. Or you can just keep going and lose a lot of time. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 levels in World 8, and they are, of course, some of the most difficult. But with the blue shell, they are made a lot easier because you can just plow through the enemies. Now, with the research out of the way, it's time for the initial playthrough. Before we get to the initial playthrough, I want to ask you, have you seen this? This is me and my dad's podcast called The Roost, and basically what we do is we just talk about whatever. I just wanted to mention that real quick. It's going to be in the link down in the description. Go check it out. It's really fun. I enjoy doing it, and I hope you enjoy watching it. Anyways, it's in the link down below. Go check it out, and back to the video. I'm going to be mentioning the red box here again, just probably because it gave me the worst trouble in the game, aside from World 8. Which we'll get to. It has a 50-50% chance of going to the level you want it to go to, and for some reason, the game decided to not like me and just went over to the castle a lot. Aside from that, the rest of the levels are pretty easy, aside from none of them, because it's World... What did you expect? It's World 1.
Also, the intro of the game lasts around 34 seconds. I just wanted to point that out. It's not important. I was just going to point it out.
I was able to keep the blue shell for a lot of it, which is pretty nice because you're just able to plow through enemies. When you get to World 5, it's clear that it's a desert world. Ha, I have bamboozled you. You wouldn't have known that it was a snow world if I didn't tell you. I'd have to say probably the hardest level in World 5 is level 2. It's the underground world, and you have to jump in the exact spots that you need to in order to finish it. And if you bounce off this wall right here, you just go into the void and you're gone. So World 8. It's not fun. Level 1 is really easy if you have the blue shell, which I did, thank Christ. And then we get to the spider level. Hey, yeah, so I was actually going to put something in here. It was just going to be a little bit where I record myself yelling at the game, and I decided not to do that because it's not as funny as I thought it was when I recorded this. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. I'll let you get back to it. In the second tower, there's this little snake thing that you have to ride to the end of the stage, and I mean, it's weird, but it's a snake. I mean, what do you expect? Besides that, I mean, Bowser's Castle is pretty difficult, but I mean, you just gotta get through it, not die. But if you have anything else other than Small Mario, you should be fine. And with the initial playthrough out of the way, we're gonna move on to practice. I don't have much to say about the practice part of this. It's just a lot of time spent on the levels, perfecting the movement, and doing the tricks right. I utilized the save states, and those really helped for the practice part of this. I can just hit F1 on the keyboard, and boom, I'm at the start of the level. That's it for the practice. Now we're gonna go to the initial run. To be honest, I think the initial run went pretty well. I got past the first world in 4 minutes and 9 seconds. I zoomed past all the levels in World 5, squeezed past the ghost house, and then boom, I'm in World 8 by 8 minutes. World 8 was a big slowdown because for some reason the emulator I have, or actually I tried a different one, but both emulators lag on World 8. I'm not really sure why. Maybe there's too much going on. I guess it just feels like lag. First few levels are pretty easy. You have the regular first world, just an overworld thing. And there's a water level you got to get through. I got a little stuck in the first tower, but it wasn't a big deal. I was able to get through it pretty quickly. But I think that the spider level gave me the most trouble. It's not so much that the jumps are precise in the first part, it's that they're really precise in the second part. You have a bunch of these moving platforms. Timing the jumps is a little tricky. Like I said, the jumps in this level are very precise. You miss one jump and bam, death. Castle 1 is also a bit tricky, but it's really not that bad compared to the other castle levels. It's pretty much the same thing. Dry Bowser was in Mario Kart Wii, I think after this game came out. I played Mario Kart before I actually played this game, and so I just thought he was like another version of Dry Bones. It's like teenage angst Dry Bones. Next set of levels are a bit challenging. The first one is in like a volcano or something, and you gotta just jump. Again, precise spots, don't get hit. The one after that level is also, I think, set in a volcano, and you just have to get out before the lava gets you. Then there's Tower 2, which again, there's a little snake thing you have to ride, and I got through that pretty quickly. Snakes are just weird. I don't like snakes. I got done with the second tower in about 30 minutes, and as you can probably already tell, the 8th world takes about 20 minutes to get through for someone who's new to speedrunning, like me. Then we get to Bowser's Castle. I think Bowser's Castle is one of the cooler levels in the game. The first part is just your average running and jumping, avoid fireballs coming up. The second part of it is a puzzle where you have to run through a section, watch out for the thwomps. If you don't know what thwomps are, there are these guys. You gotta avoid those, and then you have to go through a specific door, flip the whole thing, run back through them, avoid the thwomps again, and then avoid a bigger thwomp, and then you can go to the next section. Next section is another one of those cool puzzles. There are 3 chutes. You have to run through each of the correct ones, which can be very time consuming if you don't know what you're doing. So thank goodness I did, because I was able to get through that pretty quickly. And then the boss fight at the end is actually really cool. Instead of just having either Bowser or Bowser Jr., Bowser Jr. just straight up reincarnates Bowser, makes him bigger, and then it's been like 3-4 weeks since I've actually done anything with this video. It was really hot the last time I recorded anything. Now it's really cold. But in this fight, you have Bowser Jr. and Big Bowser. And I think the simplest way to do this is have it anything but Small Mario. Once an enemy hits you, you have invincibility for like 2 seconds. With that invincibility, you can still just run past enemies without getting hurt. So the easiest thing to do in this fight is to hit Bowser Jr. with anything but Small Mario, because if you have Small Mario, you're gonna die. But if you hit him with anything but Small Mario, you have that invincibility for 2 seconds, and you can run and jump and hit the thing. They'll both fall, and you beat the game. I finished up the initial run at 36 minutes and 19 seconds, and now I can do the actual run. This was a very fun video to make. I enjoyed everything about it, the recording, the writing, the editing. I may or may not show a timeline of what the editing actually looks like in the future, how I did the video. I don't know, that may be the next video. I think I meant for this to come out about a month ago or a couple weeks ago, but I've been busy with stuff and I haven't, I've had time, I just haven't. I'm not telling you to subscribe, but it does help me out. It gets this video out, it gets this channel out there. So if you want to, it's there. If you don't have to. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in whatever I get into next. Bye.